I start today's message with a story. When the great Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov saw misfortune threatening the Jews, it was his custom to go into a certain part of the forest to meditate. And there he would light a fire, say a prayer, special prayer, and a miracle would be accomplished and the misfortune would be averted. And later, when his disciple, the celebrated Maggid of Mezrich, had occasion for the same reason to intercede with heaven, he would go to the same place in the forest. And he would say, "Ruler of the universe, listen, I do not know how to light the fire, but I'm still able to say the prayer, and that must be sufficient." And it was sufficient. And again, the miracle will be accomplished. Still later, Rabbi Moshe Lev of Sasov, in order to save the people once more, would go into the forest and say, "I do not know how to light the fire. I do not know the prayer, but I know the place, and this must be sufficient." And it was sufficient, and the miracle was accomplished. And then it fell to Rabbi Israel of Regin to overcome misfortune. Sitting in his armchair, his head in his hands, he spoke to God and said, "I am unable to light the fire. I do not know the prayer. I cannot even find the place in the forest. All I can do is to tell the story, and this must be sufficient." And it was sufficient. I find this story very powerful and very important at this time. We know what the ideal would be as we come into the High Holy Days. The ideal would be that we would be able to come together, to be together physically, to look into each other's eyes, to embrace each other and wish each other Shana Tova. But we know that we can't. And we know that, like Rabbi Israel of Regin, we can instead gather together in our armchairs, as he did, acknowledging it's not ideal, but it must be sufficient. And it is sufficient. It's important for us to be able to reach out with kavanah wherever we are, whatever our physical circumstances might be, and say this prayer must also be sufficient. And it will be sufficient. I invite you to join us, in particular, not just for our Friday evening and Saturday morning services for Shabbat, but also tomorrow evening at Selichot at 7:30. Selichot are prayers of pardon and forgiveness. And I really feel like this will be a very powerful gathering together. You will be able to hear some of the members of our choir singing the tunes that you know so well. We won't be in the same room, in the same sanctuary together, but it will be more than sufficient. I believe it will be a very empowering, powerful, moving service. And of course, I invite you to join us for Rosh Hashanah as well. And please do make sure that during next week, on Thursday and Friday, you come to Temple Beth Shalom to pick up a gift bag for you, for your household. We have one for every single household. It's not everything, but it is sufficient. This High Holy Day season, we change our expectations. We change our expectations of ourselves and of others. We forgive the faults of others. And we acknowledge the effort that others go to, the effort to gather as well in prayer. And we know that it will be more than sufficient. I wish you Shabbat Shalom.